Hi everyone, my name is Megan, and I got married while pregnant, except that the father of my baby is not my spouse, and he didn't know about it. The story is confusing, but it's pretty darn vital. I don't know if any of you have been through this, maybe you know someone who has, but I hope you don't repeat my mistakes because it's the past that can't be changed. I was 19 years old at the time. I had graduated high school and hadn't yet gone to college. I had no idea what to do and got the first job I could find. I sold movie tickets, served in a movie bar. The only nice perk of the job was seeing a movie for free, even the premieres. My colleague and I used to swap to watch them one at a time. So one day, a guy came in on my shift, introduced himself as Michael, and brought a bouquet. Everyone was staring at us, thinking he was going to propose. Meanwhile, he just wanted my number. So as not to disappoint the audience, he got down on one knee and asked for my consent. And consent to what exactly? No one had any idea. That same night, we went out on a date. My coworker, Brittany, agreed to cover for me. We chatted about nonsense and didn't know how the weather turned bad. I was in one t-shirt, and Michael put his leather jacket on me, which said Michael on the back. I laughed so hard at that jacket. What are you laughing for? It feels like your grandmother gave this to you. Why? Well, maybe because your name is embroidered on the back. I like it. I think it's beautiful. My grandmother did make it, but there were reasons for that. What were they? When I was a kid, I often lost my stuff or gave it away. Here, whoever my friend liked it, I gave it away without thinking twice. I was often scolded at home because of that, but I felt sorry for the boys. I gave everything away. So, your grandmother decided to close the circle of your goodness that way? Yeah, she bought this jacket for me, by the way. When she gave it to me, she told me not to give it to anyone, because she'd been saving up for it for a long time. It's real leather. You can tell. It didn't even creep in after it was embroidered. You're jealous, huh? Ha, you wish. We walked and chatted. Michael walked me home and left the jacket at my place. I've had it for almost 3 weeks since then. I've been wearing it to work, going for walks with him. You're not going to give it back to me? Grandma's gonna ask suspicious questions. Tell her your girlfriend has it. What? What do you mean? You mean you... Come on, we've been going out for 3 weeks. It's been nice, and you haven't even kissed me once. Maybe that kind of officiousness will help you. So Michael kissed me. That's how our relationship began. But at the time, I didn't know what kind of lifestyle he led. He seemed like a nice, quiet guy, and then when we started spending more time together, he introduced me to his friends. Among them was Brad, who was so rough, kind of in charge of their gang. Michael, even though he didn't fit in with them, still hung out with them all the time. He was always running around in their ponies, and those guys were in perpetual trouble with the law for hooliganism. When I asked him why he hung out with them, he told me that one time, Brad helped him a lot. I grew up without a father. All I had was my grandfather, my mother, and my grandmother. We all lived together. While Mom worked, Grandpa and Grandma raised me, and then my grandfather got very sick and died. At that time, my mom couldn't work because of the shock, and I met Brad. He helped my family financially, fed us. I'm forever indebted to him, you know? Is that why you do everything he tells you to do? Yeah, he's like my big brother. Everyone says we even look alike. You can't tell from behind. Our hair is the same color, we're the same height and build, but you're still more handsome. I smiled at Michael and he lit up. By the way, here you go. Is that my jacket? Yeah, Michael's not Michael without it. Go ahead, I'll get it from you later. The other day, I asked Michael to come over and hang out with me. There was no one at home, and we hadn't seen each other for a long time, almost 2 weeks. I had already ordered food, selected a movie, and was waiting for him. At first, Michael said he would definitely come, but he didn't show up. He didn't pick up the phone, and then he texted that he was on some urgent business. I got so mad at him. I texted him something like, "How could you? We haven't seen each other in so long." He read it, but didn't reply. That pissed me off even more. It's all because of fucking Brad! I yelled across the room and walked outside, slamming the door behind me. I knew where they usually hung out, so I went straight there. Brad had a big trailer where he hung out with his gang. As I got a few yards away, I heard a noise and loud music. Gang members were walking around as if they were celebrating something. And then, behind the trailer, I saw Michael. He was standing there in his jacket with his back to me. kissing some girl. I almost choked with the pain and just ran out of there without saying a word. In the morning, Michael came over and I told him to go fuck himself. And he pretended like everything was fine, like nothing happened. I just hit him and chased him away, and then ignored all his calls and messages. It went on like that for another 2 weeks. I felt terrible. I went out for a walk alone one night and Brad bumped into me. He started asking me why I was blowing Michael off. I told him to mind his own business. He was very insistent and offered me a drink. I had a drink with him, and then he said he forgot his medicine in his trailer and asked me to go back with him. I was already out of it, so I told him what happened, and then I saw Michael's jacket. What is his jacket doing here?
He was at my place today. I guess he forgot.
The bastard! Brad consoled me, and then everything happened by itself. I woke up in the morning and ran out of there. I felt really bad. I knew I'd made a mistake, but I was so mad at Michael. And he was waiting for me outside my house. Turns out he'd been standing there all night, waiting for me to come out.
Hi.
What do you want? Go away!
What's going on? Why are you acting like this? And where were you?
None of your fucking business, okay?
Why are you acting like this?
Why? I saw you! I saw you with another girl! Go back to her!
What? What are you talking about? When?
A couple of weeks ago, when we were supposed to meet?
That night? That night, my grandmother was in the hospital. She was sick, and I was with her.
Yeah, sure. You were kissing a girl behind Brad's trailer. You were wearing your jacket.
My jacket's been at Brad's for a while.
What?
He borrowed it from me because he lost his and had nothing else to wear.
This made me shudder. And then I remembered what Michael had said about how he and Brad were often confused and that you couldn't tell them apart from the back. But you never give your jacket to anyone.
He borrowed it temporarily.
You're lying to me. That meant that Brad had realized. He realized that it was him and that I had mixed it all up, and he still got to me. And then I cried. Michael took his phone out of his pocket and showed me a picture of his grandmother in the hospital. He was taking pictures of her tests, taking selfies with her to cheer her up, and at the bottom was the date of the day we hadn't seen each other. I felt so bad, ashamed. Michael hugged me and told me that he had been going crazy all these days and that he missed me. And I cried, but I couldn't bring myself to admit what I'd done. Things got better between us, but a couple of days later, I went to Brad and punched him, and he promised not to tell. He said he was so drunk, he couldn't remember anything. And everything seemed to be fine, but after 3 weeks, I started throwing up. Then I realized that I hadn't had those days in a long time. I took a test, and there were 2 lines. My world came crashing down. It was obvious because of the due date that it was Brad's baby. I didn't know what to do, was so confused, and rushed to the hospital. That's when Michael came to me. He saw me like that and started asking questions, but I couldn't say anything. I just cried and cried. Then Michael got down on his knee and said,
I wanted to do this tonight, but I want to get you in a good mood. Will you marry me?
Can you imagine my state of mind? Thoughts ran through my head in a second, and I chickened out. So I said yes, and then I told him I was pregnant. Michael was insanely happy and started hugging me and kissing me. And all I felt was shame. I was living with the idea that I was going to get married carrying another man's baby under my heart. Michael started getting ready for the wedding, told me that Brad would be his best man, and I objected. Michael asked why I didn't want to see Brad and why I was so freaked out by him lately. Then he stopped me and looked me in the eye.
What's wrong?
He asked. I couldn't take it anymore and told him everything. Michael was so angry. He ran to Brad and I followed him. I was afraid he was going to kill him. Brad denied everything, saying nothing had happened.
Prove it. She had been drinking too much. She was mad at you. I left her at my house to sleep over. That's it.
Don't lie. I'm pregnant.
Obviously not by me.
What? How dare you?
Here's the footage from my trailer. You know I have stuff to hide here, Michael, so I installed it 6 months ago. Here, look.
It's true. I was so drunk I passed out on the floor and he went into another room. So, nothing happened?
God, you're not even my type. Take it easy. By the way, congratulations on the baby.
And there was silence. Of course, Michael and I still had a serious conversation after that, but we made up our minds. The baby was Michael's after all. We had a little soiree, and I finally got to meet his grandmother and mother. And as for the jacket, I took it for myself.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma. I want to tell you a story that happened during my school years. Or rather, about my early pregnancy. I grew up on a small island where all the neighbors knew each other. Unfortunately, there was no public school where I lived. Many children have been helping their parents at work since they were young. I'm one of them. But there were some kids who went to school a few miles away in another city. But my family couldn't afford that, although they really wanted me to get an education. My mom and dad worked from morning to night to save for my school. I understood this and tried to help them in every way. Although they did not get me to go with them to work, I did all the work on the farm and around the house. I admit it was a difficult time for us, sometimes even when we were left without lunch. I am grateful to them for the fact that despite this, they were able to save a little money and we moved to America. At that time, I was 9 years old. It was hard to get used to the new atmosphere. On such a small island, I'm not used to busy streets and surrounded by a large number of people, and a new language that I barely understood. Life in the city seemed very fast to me. My parents managed to enroll me in a local school. The worst thing was that I was older than my classmates. But despite this, I very much wanted to get a good education. I tried to pay more attention to my teachers, and I always did my homework with great responsibility. I practiced English more. In addition to homework, Samantha tried to write and read more. My father worked 2 jobs at the time, and this allowed my mother to take care of me. It was also a big change, since I didn't get much attention from my parents as a child. My mother's attention helped me, and I really needed it. She helped me with my studies and encouraged me to become a responsible student. The teachers were happy with me, although they knew that before, I had no education. And it seemed to me that everything was getting better. By the time I reached the 9th grade, we were already doing well. My father managed to get a much better job. In the evenings, he spent time with us, and even moved to a nice apartment in the best area. And there was enough money to buy good clothes and furniture. We weren't rich, but it was more than enough for us. I had a lot of friends at school, and the situation in life suited me very well. I met a guy named Brad once. This is a really good guy, high-powered and smart. I immediately fell in love with him. I told my parents about it. I think they liked it too. They let me see him. We often spent time together. We walked, went to the movies, and we had so much fun together. Most of all, we loved kissing. It seemed so innocent to us. We were so young and stupid. One night he came to my house. My parents went to work the night shift. In the morning, we ate popcorn and watched a romantic movie, and then it all turned into the fact that in the morning we woke up naked together in my bed. At that moment, it seemed to me that nothing terrible had happened. We also continued to walk and have fun. A few weeks passed, and I thought I was sick. I was dizzy and sick all the time. My mother was very worried. I couldn't get out of bed for a couple of days. When I got a little better, I told my parents that it was all over. Mom said it was just the flu, but in fact, I was still sick. I didn't want to disturb my parents and pretended that everything was fine. She also continued to go to school and studied as usual. But it was strange. My stomach started to grow. I thought I was just getting fat, but I didn't eat any more than usual. And I suspected it was all wrong. Then we talked to Brad and decided that maybe it was a pregnancy. But as a pregnancy, I was so young. I was in shock. That night at dinner, I couldn't hold back my words and tears. In the blame of crying, I told my parents. They couldn't believe it, and they were so angry. They scolded me for hours. I was so ashamed. I felt like I had betrayed them. The next morning, my mother and I went to the doctor to confirm whether I really was pregnant. After all the tests, the doctor said that I was already 4 months pregnant. So there was no other choice but to give birth. In the evening, the parents quarreled with each other. My father said I was ruining my life, and my mother said they should support me. I was so sick at the time. But I was their daughter, and they couldn't turn their backs on me. That night, my mother called and told Brad's parents, and they came to us with Brad. I saw the terrible anger in my parents' eyes. That evening, after talking, the adults decided that in any case, they would support us and help with the child's upbringing, and we must continue to learn. I read a lot of books about my pregnancy, and our parents gave us a lot of advice and helped us at every step. Brad and Emma continued to date, and when they finished high school, they moved to another city together. I had a beautiful daughter. They called her Ava. We have a great family, and the grandparents were very happy for our daughter. She was pampered and cared for in every way. Brad and I got married, and we are already planning to give birth to more children, and we will do our best to give everyone a decent education. Don't forget to subscribe and watch other interesting stories on the channel.